Good morning, everyone. We're going to give you just a few seconds to get in and make sure that you are muted. In the meantime, I'm going to say welcome to the August 2024 CASI Charter Chat. Thank you for joining us. And I am not seeing our PowerPoint presentation. There's something wrong with my screen here. In any case, Michelle, do you see the presentation? Okay.
I do.
Okay. So next slide, which I hope is our caveat. So I want to share before we get started that the information contained in this presentation is provided as reference information, and that before you act on this information, we encourage you to review the laws and regulations on your own and to consult with your own legal counsel. Next slide, which again, I'm hoping is the agenda. Let's see. Before I go to the agenda, I want to just remind you that you should be muted and that you may put questions into the chat rather. The session is recorded. However, we will only record the main room, this room, not the breakout rooms that we will be going into a little later in this meeting. Our agenda today is short and sweet. We're going to remind you what's in the parking lot, review previous questions from previous charter chats, give you some updates on legislation and the State Board of Education, and then share some hot topics. Next slide, please. I'm going to hand it off to our CASI partner, Allison, from the California Department of Education.
Thank you, Mifla, and good morning, everyone. I'm Allison Ball from the CDE's Charter Schools Division, managing the grant that funds CASI. And while I could sing CASI's praises probably every month during every charter chat, I only try to unmute just once a year to give you some big picture updates. As you all know, CASI is a collaboration between the Santa Clara County Office of Education and CCAP and the CDE. And we are just so proud of the tremendous efforts and vision held by Santa Clara and by CCAP, which has continued to grow CASI over the past 2.5 years. So I have just a few major milestones I wanted to celebrate with you all with CASI. First is that we've had more than 198 authorizers attend CASI events. That's 60% of all authorizers in the entire state, well over the 50% goal that we had under this grant. Additionally, CASI has hosted over 70 events in 2.5 years with nearly 4,000 attendees. So thank you so much for being a part of that, for joining us, and for calling those friends and getting even more folks to attend CASI events. And finally, 85% of attendees have reported a change in practice or policy as a result of CASI training. So all that to say, when Michelle is hounding you for those feedback surveys at the end of CASI events, there are people eagerly awaiting that data on the other end, both to count those in our metrics, but also because we really do want to hear from you, the questions you have, the suggestions you have to continue to grow CASI. And speaking of real human supports, you're going to see several folks from the Charter Schools Division on the call today who you'll see in breakout rooms, including 2 new staff members on the oversight team, Megan Yazigi and Soledad Gutierrez. So if you see them in a breakout room, please give them a warm welcome. And thank you again for being a part of CASI. We're eager to continue this work, and hopefully we'll have some exciting news for you at the end of September around next steps, as we just put in a really big application for new funding for the next 5 years. So hope to be back soon. And thank you again so much. I'll hand things back over to Mifla.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Thanks, Allison. So Allison is our CASI partner who you don't see very often. She's behind the scenes, moving and shaking everything up. So thank you, Allison, for stepping up to the front and giving us that information on how we're doing. I still can't see my slides. And so I am guessing that we are on the page that shows, on the slide that shows who we are. So CASI is a partnership among this California Department of Education, the Santa Clara County Office of Education, and the California Charter Authorizing Professionals. So at SCCOE, this slide just shows you who our team members are. And by the way, I am Mifla Fairley. Next slide, please. This slide should be the slide showing our CCAP partners, who include Tom Hutton, David Patterson, and Debbie Deal, among other folks. Next slide, please. Okay, so I think we're at the parking lot, and I'm going to hand it over. Oh, it's me. So our parking lot still has a number of items on it. I do want to point out, though, that it is getting shorter. So we have taken care of a number of items in the parking lot, but these are just items that questions have come up about, and we don't have an answer yet. We are still working on answers to these questions or putting together presentations on these issues. And so just want to let you know that we still have them at front of mind. All right, next slide. Handing over to Michelle.
Hi, everyone. This is our announcement for our next quarterly regional or quarterly training. It's going to be on authorizing governing board training, or basically Renewal 101. Since we have several hundred renewal petitions this year, we need to get our authorizing board members back up to speed on the renewal process. This training will discuss the topics to cover, provide sample training session templates, and give you some practical information to share with your boards. This training will take place virtually on Friday, October 4th at 9 a.m. The registration link is in the chat and also on the resource page. And next slide.
Okay.
Hand it off to Dave.
Yes, the next slide's mine, which is a previous charter chat question. We actually have the opportunity to respond on one of them. What are the requirements for authorizers charging oversight fees? How are authorizers tracking their oversight costs? Per Education Code 47613, effective June 20th, 2014. So this has been in place for a decade. Authorizers may charge for their actual oversight costs not to exceed 1% of the charter's revenue. And it's defined in the language about what revenue means. If an authorizer is supplying the charter school with substantially rent-free facilities, then the authorizer may charge an actual oversight fee not to exceed 3% of the charter's revenue. Authorizers may use a variety of ways to track oversight costs, include time accounting, full-time equivalent positions, and who are conducting the oversight process, et cetera, things like that. Next slide, and I'll hand it off.
Okay, so we are going to be moving into breakout rooms later today.
Yeah.
And no?
No, this is just renaming yourself.
Right. Yes, I know. So later we're going to be moving into breakout rooms. And so we're asking you to rename yourself right now. We're doing this by topic. So we want you to enter the topic, right?
No.
No? Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, why aren't we nicer to Mifla and just have somebody pick up her slides until she can get it up in front of her? That's just hard to do. So Michelle,
I'll do this. So
no, thank you.
we're just going to have general breakout rooms. There will be 3 authorizer breakout rooms, rooms 1, 2, or 3, and you'll be randomly put in there if you're an authorizer. And there will be 1 non-authorizer partner room, and the non-authorizer partners will be put in that room. And we are just going to have regular conversations about anything that you need to talk about as an authorizer or as a non-authorizer. Next slide. So as you can see, our legislative updates, there's only 1 item left on it, and that's AB 1913, which I'd like to say has passed both the Assembly and the Senate and is headed to the governor's desk for his decision. Oh, and now the slides are no longer visible? Uh-oh. What?
I can see them.
I can see them.
Technology.
See them.
Okay, Tina can see them. Good. Skylar, you raised your hand. Oh, good. We have lots of people who can see them. All right. Kathleen, you raised your hand. Is that because you can see them, or hopefully? Or
I think
you
they're
have a
working.
question?
Let's just keep
Yes,
going.
that's correct.
Sorry.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. All right.
No,
Next,
Michelle, I'm gonna restart the share real quick, see if that helps people.
let's see if that helps. Perfect. Thanks, Justin. You know, I think sometimes we have these updates and everybody's kind of in the middle of figuring out what happens with the updates. And so technical difficulties, it once again raises its ugly head. Can everyone now see the slides? Yay! Okay. All right. So next slide. Yay. All right. So this is the California Department of Education and State Board of Education updates. So the Advisory Commission on Charter Schools held their last meeting on August 6th. Non-classroom based funding determinations and a material revision for an SBE authorized school were considered. The next ACCS meeting will be held on October 8th. The state board will then be holding their next meetings on September 11th through 12th. Next slide, please.
Okay, so we're moving into hot topics, and Michelle, next slide, please. Michelle, please continue.
Thank you. So normally the program Hot Topics belong to my colleague Matt, but he is off doing a Williams visit at this moment, so I get to cover. We have two topics today on the Hot Topics. The first one is the 24-25 Charter School Certification of Information has been posted. In the spring of 2024, charter schools reported that they're certified their information with the California Department of Education for the fiscal year 24-25 through the Charter School Certification of Information, or COI, for the purposes of informing state and federal policy, supporting charter school authorization and oversight, and promoting transparency of the state's public school system. The data collected via the COI for the 24-25 school year are provided at this specific website, which you can find on the resource page. All data are reported by the authorized representative of the charter school. The Charter School Certification of Information provides charter schools with the opportunity to verify and update their information, including their fund type, for the following school year. So for 24-25, the CDE collected certificated information from 100% of the charter schools, which is amazing. This year's COI also included data fields such as the governing board details, additional site details, SELPA information, and instructional type, which are all new data fields for this year. With schools getting back, so I just wanted to give a huge shout out for getting that new information, because these are things that we have been asking for as authorizers for the last few years. And even though it's taken a few years to get it to happen, I want to thank CDE for all of their hard work in making that happen. So the next item is the 24-25 school year preparation. On our resource page are lots of great information. With schools getting back in session, all your summer planning for the start of the school year is now coming to fruition. So please check out the resource page as a reminder and a resource of things which you might need for oversight purposes, LCAP reviews, website reviews, setting up your annual visits, etc. So there's lots of great information on the resource page. Next slide.
And I see that also is you, Michelle.
I'll take that slide, Michelle. I think you're muted. Good morning, everyone. We just have one topic for today, which is unaudited actual. Just as a reminder, pursuant to Education Code 42100, each charter school must prepare an annual statement of all receipts and expenditure for the preceding year. The charter schools that do not report in SACS, which is Standardized Account Code Structure, must use an alternative form, which is currently available via SACS web systems. And this unaudited actuals must be completed by the charter school and submitted to their authorizer by September 15. And then the authorizer needs to review and submit the form to the County Office of Education in case the authorizer is not the county office who will then submit that form to CDE by October 15, 2024. Next slide, please.
Okay. So Michelle, why don't you also explain this slide?
All right, so we are going to be going into breakout rooms. There will be 4 rooms. 3 will be authorizer rooms, and 1 will be our non-authorizer partner. So make sure that you're in the right breakout room. The facilitators are our CASI folks, but we'll also have CDE representatives in each room for support and answering questions. So let's open the rooms.
If you could give me just a few more minutes, like
Sure.
2 minutes, that would be awesome. I apologize for the delay, but there's been it's been a bit of an interesting morning, so I apologize for the delay.
No worries at all.
So maybe if there are questions about what's been presented so far, folks can just unmute and ask their question. Or we can all stare at each other.
And if not, we can cover some of the last slides now, potentially, with some of our reminders. And then as soon as the breakout rooms are ready, we can go to that.
Good idea, Dave. So jumping over to slide 20, upcoming CASI events. Tom?
Yep. For if anybody is planning to go to the what used to be CCBE and now is called County Board Member Services Conference in Monterey, there will be a good deal of authorizer programming, not just CASI, but CASI will be there presenting on the latest on charters, including renewals and appeals. And of course, this will have a focus on county boards as opposed to authorizers generally, and as opposed to the kind of the granular detail that we get into when we're talking among staff. We also have our monthly charter chat, as always, on the last Wednesday. The next slide. We already mentioned the quarterly training that's coming up, speaking of preparing boards, and I'll just mention as an aside that we're reaching out to some of you who have been doing work in this area so that we can feature other ideas from the field. So Neil McChesney is not able to join us, but he just did a training for his board, and so we'll have that as an example. And Joanne Lamb has done some work in Alameda County and presented at the CCAP conference with one of her board members on that. We can feature that as well. Let me just throw out the invitation. If you've been doing some cool stuff in terms of training your own board, your own authorizing board in this area, please reach out to me, because we'd love to share as many ideas as we can that are out there in the field. Are we ready to go, or what? We'll just finish up the upcoming
We are
event.
ready to go. I apologize for the delay, but I'm ready to open now if everybody's ready to go in.
Okay.
All right, opening now.
Mifala, I think you're muted.
I think I should go home and go back to bed. All right. So thanks everyone for participating in breakout rooms. We are going to debrief. Room 1. Would you please? I don't remember who was in room 1. Room 1 was Michelle, Shalou, Craig, and Soledad.
Yeah, so we had a couple of questions that popped up. The first one was around the CDE enrollment data, basically around renewals. How is it being interpreted? How is it being shared with the boards? The next one that came out is, the next question was, there's new cut points on iReady. What are we supposed to be doing with that? And CDE, Craig shared that, please talk to AMARD. They're working on the question. The next topic was around a low performing tier renewal, an improvement plan, The school asked for an improvement plan template. So Kelly from Oakland shared her template. We also said, but asking for a template, isn't that possibly a capacity question for the charter school if they're asking for a template to create their plan? And we also talked about needing 1 year's progress or 1 year's growth. If you're a low performing tier, then it's a denial. But you can get that 2-year look back if you can show that you're making growth and you have a plan. And then the last topic that came out was around middle performance tiers. But if they're a lower middle performing tier, are we asking them for a program improvement plan? And my response was, well, wouldn't the LCAP work? And the response was, well, maybe, because we have a lot of LCAPs that don't always fit the bill. And so lots of good conversation in room 1.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. In room 2, I was there, but I'm afraid to try to explain anything at this moment. So, Cynthia, do you want to share what was
As room 2 knows, the reason why we are a little bit jet lag is because we had a very late board meeting for our first renewal of the season, and we actually spent some time kind of debriefing what our takeaways from our meeting. Some topics, including like the MOU, conditional approval. We won't get into the details of that, but definitely check out the notes that Jeff very graciously helped us with. But yeah, I mean, I think we mostly stuck around in that general topic of our renewal experience, and we did share a resource from Santa Clara County Office charter schools for their charter renewals and mature revisions matrix. Somebody asked within the group if there is a matrix of some sort or checklist that a charter school can use to guide themselves as part of making sure that they're submitting every component of their petition. And we just dropped that in the chat, and I believe it went to everyone. So feel free to peruse that page for any resources such as that. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Room 3.
Okay, room 3. We had extensive discussions about using electronic tools to help you with the electronic submission of materials. We had a number of users, authorizers in the room that were new Epicenter users, just learning, just getting it on, and then a bunch of people that have been doing it for any number of years. We also talked a little bit about how DTS has a product also that is a document collection vehicle, which is I would consider a subset, but also valuable for people. A lot of positive comments about overall about how you never want to go back, how you want binders to disappear forever. And you'll see there was also some conversation about the use of an Adobe product in Contra Costa that Neil and his team is using for tracking renewals, which was a new one. So that was a new one that was shared. And then we switched to a conversation about charter schools and international schools, where there's a question about can they do it under what terms, what type of fees can be charged and all that. And there was a lot of questions so there was some good conversation about some federal regulations, about some questions being asked, but there clearly wasn't any closure on it. More work needs to be done. Anybody else from the group want to add any 2 cents? Okay, then I'll pass it back.
Thank you. Tom, room 4.
Before we get on to our group, somebody had raised in the first group, I think there's a new development with iReady. And I just wanted to mention that for those who really like to dive into the data, CCAP has a webinar with some folks, the data gurus from iReady, on September 27th. If you don't already get CCAP's email alerts, you can just shoot me an email and I'll send you the information if you're interested in that webinar. In our group, we also had a renewal discussion, and it started with questions about, how exactly the rollout is going to work when the dashboard incorporates growth and how that's going to affect the system of renewals. And we said, that's something we can come back to in a future charter chat. But Suzanne from CSDC offered us, the state board has approved, going ahead, but not the sort of all the implementation and rollout places. That's still to be worked on. But we can put that in the parking lot and revisit what that looks like, at least as far as we know at this point. That led to kind of a broader discussion about the ongoing discussions in Sacramento about, once you have that, what happens to verified data? Do we continue to use verified data, or are they sunset, or in what circumstances? And a lot of anxiety in this room of non-authorizers about the degree to which we may end up with a renewal system that is looking at very few data points for very high stakes decisions for schools, and how to have those discussions kind of locally with your authorizer and kind of build that collaborative use of data for that, particularly with the schools that are anxious about potentially being in the low tier. Another sort of thing that came out of that, a related point, was a desire on the part of the non-authorizers to have more opportunities to interact with the authorizer participants on some things. You remember we had that one charter chat where we divvied ourselves up not by sort of what hat, but by topics. Choose your topic that you want to talk about. And in general, we were saying a lot of the CASI stuff we have is not separated between authorizers and non-authorizers. Sometimes authorizers and non-authorizers would like that safe space to talk among themselves. But in a lot of the program we do, it's just everybody who has things to share. But we'll take to heart that desire on the part of our non-authorizer partners who participate in CASI to be able to have those interactive discussions with authorizers sometimes as well. Anybody else want to add from my group?
All right, so nice segue into our next slide about meeting feedback. Michelle, next slide. You're muted.
We love feedback. Yes, as we've been saying, our whole team is a little slap happy right now because our board meeting went till 1:31 in the morning, Tuesday morning. 1:39. Oh my goodness. So we love feedback and we do take it very seriously. Please provide us with a quick, it's only 4 questions. It should take about 2 minutes to complete. Please give us your feedback. We listen. We do take it to heart. If there's questions or things that you need, add that in comments. We do respond. So next slide. And I will come back.
Just chime in, Michelle?
Sure.
We're training ourselves in CASI on the advice of the department when we have a link or an email in our slide to call out that fact verbally, because it helps with accessibility for the recording later. So there's a link to the survey, and let it be noted in this in this slide.
And it's also in the chat. All right, next slide, which we have covered already, upcoming events. Next slide. Another upcoming event is our quarterly training. Next slide. I'm not sure.
These slides, by the way, have links and email addresses for the record.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So we should be on the upcoming CASI events 3 slide.
Actually, we need to go back to the one that was just there. Oh, yes. Okay. No, you're right.
Okay. Is this me still? I'm trying to remember. Yeah. Okay. So again, we also are available to do a local training if that would be more desirable in your community, or even if it's for your shop, or in the cases of some of the counties, they've been working on getting the districts in their county to come together. And it may be that the districts that are the very small authorizers with no full-time authorizing staff and a little harder to get engaged in the discussion on authorizing, that when the message comes from their county versus who is CCAP, what is CASI, that kind of thing, it might work better. So we've been doing some of these on-site trainings, and we're available if you would like us to come do something. It could be just an oversight, welcome to authorizing, but it could be on a more particular topic, and we can work with you to tailor based on what you think your interests are. So let us know.
Okay, next slide, please.
So we're going to turn the time over to Jeff Hunt to share this information.
Thank you.
Oh, really briefly. Oh, thank you, Michelle. So the Charter Connection Professional Learning Series is back this year with 2 sessions. The first session is October 11th, and that's on charter renewals. And this particular session, the time will be split where there will be the first hour or so will be kind of process training, the charter performance tiers, renewal criteria, and that kind of thing. And then the last part of the training really is lessons from the field. So some of you, as shared on this charter chat, are in the midst of charter renewals. So we've reached out to some of our COE and district partners, and we're going to just do a Q&A where participants can ask questions. And then there are a few structured questions where we're asking some of our COE and district partners, how are you preparing your boards? How are you preparing your team members for renewal? And then how is that working really early on? So we look forward to it being a real learning opportunity as well as an interactive opportunity. And so this is coming up in just a few short weeks, October 11th at 9 a.m. The registration link is on the slide as well as in the chat.
Thank you, Jeff. Next slide, please. If you have any questions and would like to contact us, you may do so at cassie@cde.ca.gov. Next slide. Thank you. And we are finishing with 6 minutes to spare.
And thank you to the 12 people who have responded to our survey. There are still 80 of you here, so please respond to our survey.
Thank you. Have a good day.